Wife's prolonged affair with my friend exposed when I catch them red-handed, and reveal all my wife's long affair with my friend, ruined when I catch her red-handed, and expose everything by printing their secret messages. So, my wife, 26, let's call her Lisa, cheated on me, 27, with a friend of mine, 27, who we'll call Ryan for this story. A bit of backstory. We met when I was 22 at another friend's wedding. She was a good friend of the bride, and I was a good friend of the groom, and they sat us at the same table so we would get to know each other. When I first saw her, I was completely taken aback by how beautiful she was. When she sat down and we began to talk, we found out we had a lot of things in common. We clicked instantly. We talked for a while during dinner and then took to the dance floor. We danced and drank through the night. We ended up kissing in the middle of the dance floor. And when we pulled away, our friends, the bride and groom, came up to us and asked what was up between us. They were really excited to play matchmaker. We just shrugged it off and carried on with our night. We left without exchanging numbers, but about a week later, I got a text from her asking me out. The bride gave her my number. I, of course, said yes, and it turned into a relationship. The relationship was great. Other than small arguments, we never really fought, and it was never anything serious. I eventually asked her to marry me about 2 years into dating, and we were married less than a year later. We were married for a little more than a year when it all came crashing down on me. Just before our first anniversary, there were little things that started irritating me. She became more guarded of her phone. Girls' nights became more frequent, and our sex life was almost non-existent. I had brought this up on multiple occasions, but I was brushed off and told that I was letting my insecurities get to me. She would continue as if what I felt and tried to communicate didn't matter to her. So, I became colder and colder. I stopped giving her a goodbye kiss as I left for work, and unless it was something important, we hardly spoke. One night while she slept, I took her phone and laptop and skimmed through her texts, emails, and messenger apps, and found nothing. From reading stories on Reddit, I checked her car. I grabbed her keys and looked in her car, and found a second phone. I knew in that instant what was going on, but I wanted all the evidence for when I called her out. I didn't want her to say something like it had only happened once or anything stupid like that. I looked through the phone and found only one number. I read through every message, connected the phone to my computer, and printed out every message and photo. I spent the night researching divorce lawyers. I spent hours of my day in my home office reading bios of lawyers, and found one that I liked. I emailed him, but as it was a Saturday, he wasn't in the office. I wanted to know who the guy was, so I grabbed my phone and typed the number. I wanted to call and pretend to be from Spectrum because who doesn't have Spectrum? But Ryan's contact popped up. It took me a minute to put 2 and 2 together, but when I did, I blew up. I was yelling and cursing in my office, and my wife opened the door to check on me. When I saw her, I told her to get the F out. She closed the door and went to our room. I had never cursed at my wife or raised my voice above a normal volume. All day I stayed in my office, silently raging and glaring at the wall. I called one of my friends, the groom from the wedding, and told him I needed to go for a drink and asked if he would come with me. He must have heard something in my voice because he asked if I was okay. I told him I wasn't and that I really needed a drink. Without a word, I took all the printouts and left to go to the bar. I arrived first, ordered 4 shots of Jack and a beer. I was on my last shot when my friend, let's call him Mike, arrived and asked what was going on. I told him straight out, Lisa is cheating. He gave me sympathy and asked if I wanted to know with who. When I told him it was Ryan, he became visibly irritated. He was the one who introduced me to Ryan, and all he could say was, I'm sorry, over and over. Ryan and I were never super close. We wouldn't ask one another to hang out, but if we saw each other at a get-together, we were friendly. I told Mike not to mention this to anyone, as I had just found out, and hadn't even spoken to Lisa or a lawyer yet. I asked him not to tell his wife, and if she asked what was wrong with me to say I was having problems at work. He agreed. We drank and talked for most of the night. Then I called an Uber and went home. Around 3 a.m., it was the first time I looked at my phone since I called Mike. There were missed calls and a bunch of texts, all from Lisa asking where I was, when I'd be home, and if I was okay. I got home, and she was asleep on the couch. I just walked up to our bedroom and went to sleep. I woke up with her in the bed, so I got dressed and left the house. I went to pick up my car and went to my office, burying myself in work for the day. I went back home around 10 p.m. To my surprise, Lisa was there to greet me. She told me she had made me dinner and asked if I wanted her to heat it up. I told her no and went to bed. She followed soon after, asking what had been wrong with me. I told her to leave me alone and that I wanted to sleep. She kept pestering me until I snapped and yelled, "Lisa, stop! I'm trying to sleep. Go away." The next morning, I received an email from the lawyer asking to meet later in the day. I confirmed and got ready for my day. I went downstairs to leave, and Lisa had made breakfast, asking to talk. I made a small plate and sat down. She started by saying I'd been acting different and going on and on about how I changed, and she wanted to know why. I told her work had been stressful, and soon it would be all over. I finished up and told her I had to go. I went to my office and counted down the minutes to go meet the lawyer. When I left, I told my assistant I was going out to lunch with a client. The meeting with the lawyer went well. I handed over all I had gathered on Lisa. The lawyer told me, "Well, I'm sorry for all that's going on, but I'm happy you gathered all this information. You see, we live in a fault state, so your wife has no claim on most of your money." I told him I hadn't even thought about that. I was just thinking I had to divorce her as soon as possible. He asked to keep the evidence, but I told him I'd prefer if he just made copies, as I hadn't told Lisa I knew yet and didn't want to hear her excuses. He agreed and had his assistant make copies. I asked when she would be served with papers, and he told me about 2 weeks. I thanked him and left. I went home to confront Lisa. When I arrived, she wasn't home, so I called her. No answer. I called again. No answer. I texted her, "I don't give a F if you're riding Ryan right now. Get home. We need to talk." Lo and behold, she called me not a minute later, asking what I was talking about. I told her, "Get home now." She arrived about 15 minutes later, and I said to her, "Wow, look at that. 15 minutes. That's about the same distance between here and Ryan's, isn't it?" She looked at me, dumbfounded. I gave her a minute to gather herself, but she was just looking at me. I said, "Well, nothing to say?" She tried to deny and gaslight me, and I let her continue on. She worked herself up and started to insult me. I slammed my fist on the table to shut her up and pulled out the evidence. At first, I showed it from the side and said, "Look at this mountain of things I gathered on you." Then I showed her each printout one at a time. She then told me to stop and started to cry. She tried to apologize and tell me she loved me. I said, "Honey, what happened to that energy you had before? You were so adamant on degrading and insulting me just a minute ago." She tried to hug me and tell me how sorry she was. I put my hand out and told her, "Don't touch me." She said, "We'll go to the bedroom and do whatever I like." I looked her deep in her eyes and told her, "Sweetheart, I will never touch you again. Do you want to know who else has these photos and messages? My lawyer. I'm divorcing you. Now get a bag, gather your clothes, and get the F out of my house." That was 3 days ago, and I haven't heard from her since. I'm curious to those who have been where I'm at. What can I expect from here? The next morning, I planned on doing a bit of damage control in my life, so I scheduled an appointment with my doctor to get checked for STDs. I have that appointment in 2 days. Next, I started contacting all the people close to me, my father and a few friends. They all have been really supportive, offering their own advice and asking if I need help with anything. But as I have this crap on lock, I declined. I then started to contact her family. I sent a text to her mom and dad, thanking them for allowing me into their family, and that I was grateful for all that they had done for me. But Lisa and I are getting divorced, and that I would miss them terribly. Not really, they were very suffocating. And while they are great people, I'm happy I no longer have to deal with it. I then told them if they had any questions, feel free to ask. I didn't hear back from them for a while, so I moved on to Lisa's sister. This kind of hurt because her sister and I were good friends, and I knew this would mess up that friendship. I texted her, "Hey, I'm sorry to have to text you this, but Lisa and I are going to get a divorce, And I wanted you to know. I want to thank you from day one. You accepted me as a brother. I will be around if you ever need anything from me." Around the time I sent the text, her parents responded back. Here's how the conversation went. Parents: "We are so sorry to hear this. What happened? Why hasn't Lisa said anything to us?" Me: "Lisa has been in at least a year-long affair. I suspect it started before our wedding. I'm unsure why she hasn't reached out, but I think you should call her. She left the house and I figured she would have gone to you." Parents: "No, we haven't heard from her. We'll call her. Thanks for letting us know. Are you sure she was having an affair?" Me: "I am positive. I found their texts." Parents: "We're so sorry that she did that. We'll try and get in touch with her." After dealing with her family, I moved on to Ryan's fiancée. I can't remember if I told you all that he is engaged in the first part. I know it was brought up in some of the comments. I thought this was going to be difficult, that Lisa and Ryan would have conspired some master plan, but either Lisa didn't tell them I found out, or they're just idiots. I sent her a text around 2 p.m. and asked if we could meet for coffee or something. By 2:05, she agreed and told me to meet her at some gross hipster coffee shop across from her work at 2:30. I arrived first, ordered my horrible coffee, and waited for a few minutes. She walked in, ordered hers, and came to join me. I told her, "There's no easy way to say what I'm about to tell you, so I'm just going to blurt it out. Ryan has been cheating on you with my wife. It's been going on for more than a year." She was obviously shocked, so I then told her I only found out a few days ago. I know I should have told you then, but I had a divorce to get started and my own pity to deal with. She asked how I found out, and I told her everything that's in the first post. I then asked if she wanted to see the evidence I gathered and pulled out a binder. She grabbed the binder, skimmed through the messages and pictures, and just started to silently cry. I told her she was more than welcome to take the binder and extra copies if she wanted to confront Ryan with it or use it to see if he would lie. She thanked me, stood up, took the binder, and I told her if she needed anything from me to let me know. She nodded her head and walked out, looking very defeated. I know you all told me to just stay sober, keep a level head and whatnot, but my world just came crashing down on my head. I'm going to take this week to sit on my back porch, drink, smoke cigars, and blare music. After this week, I'll stop feeling sorry for myself and get back to my usual schedule. On a more positive note, I've already packed up most of her things, clothes, jewelry, etc. I also threw in our wedding book and every photo that has her in it in the boxes. If and when she comes back for her stuff, I don't want her here any longer than she needs to be. Also, before you ask, no, I didn't ruin her clothes. Other than a few picture frames, nothing's broken. As of right now, there's nothing else happening. I've told everyone I needed to tell. My doctor's appointment is scheduled. My lawyer's hard at work to get me out of this nonsense, and 90% of her things are in boxes. I really don't know what's left. If she stays out of my hair, this might be the smoothest divorce ever. Thank you for reading. Advice is always appreciated. It's been a while since I've posted. I coach high school baseball. So between getting this divorce done, dealing with my soon-to-be ex, and coaching these kids, I don't have much free time at the moment. Quite a bit has happened, so this might be a long post, so please bear with me. A few days after the movers took her things to Lisa, my lawyer received some paperwork saying I damaged her things and demanding I pay her $1,500, or she would be taking me to court over it. My lawyer sent hers all the videos and pictures, asking exactly where the damages were that he claimed I made. He told me all this does is tell the judge how unhinged she is, and it might be a headache now, but when it's time for court, this will all be perfect evidence. I don't think her lawyer was ready for how meticulous I am, and that I will photograph and document everything. When I found out about my wife's affair, I was, for some reason, pulled to this page and read all of the horror stories about the things these people's former spouses did to them, and I absolutely refuse to be another one of those stories. I've prepared myself for almost every outcome and accusation she could make. I wouldn't put anything past her at this point. Lisa had called me once every other day, but I never pick up. If she leaves a voicemail, I don't bother listening to it. I just send it to my lawyer. Every time I send my lawyer something, he always tells me, "You are a lawyer's dream. You listened to everything I say. You gathered a mountain of evidence on your own. I have yet to have a client that has done so well." He wasn't exaggerating when he said he says that every time, but it also puts a smile on my face every time. Getting that reassurance from him that I'm doing everything right makes me feel a little better about this whole situation. About 2, maybe 3 weeks ago, my lawyer told me that we have enough evidence to bury her outside of court, and if it fails, it would look good on us for trying. So we set a date a week ago to meet in a neutral lawyer's office. Before we met, he told me, no matter what, don't react to anything that Lisa might say, and that we do will be recorded for a judge to read if it goes to court. We arrived in the early morning and went into the office. To my surprise, she was already there waiting with her lawyer. We walked in and the lawyers started greeting each other. Lisa and I sat there silently, waiting for what was going to happen. Lisa's lawyer started by asking what we had to offer. Mine scoffed and said, "With a mountain of evidence of the infidelity and Lisa's inappropriate behavior after, the only thing we'll offer is half of the selling price of the home and half of the savings account. That's more than any judge would award you. Basically, what you came into the marriage with, you'll be leaving with." Then he looked directly at Lisa and said, "If you decide to go to court, I will put every message making you read it all out loud. Then I will put every photo up for all in court to see, and make you describe in detail what you're doing in each photo. Then I'll bring up your recent charges and play the video that was taken that night." Lisa started to tear up, looking at me, asking if there was anything she could do to make this right. I said, "You've been cheating on me since before our wedding. All I can prove is a few weeks before the wedding, but I suspect it was much longer. There is nothing at all you could possibly do to make me forget or forgive you for what you've done. Sign the papers. It's more than you deserve, and I want to be done with this whole sham you created." She cried obnoxiously for 15 minutes, having to excuse herself to the restroom. When she returned, she was still in tears, but signed the papers and I walked out not long after. So, in about a month, everything will be filed, and all I'll have left to do is sell the house. I want to thank you all for reading, and all of the advice you've given. I don't see anything else happening, but I could be wrong. If it does, I'll let you know. But this will probably be my last post. So again, thank you all. I hope what's happened to me has helped at least one person out there. In the days following Lisa S.'s tearful departure from the Lawyer S. office, a strange calm settled over me. The house, though emptier now, felt lighter without her presence. I focused on preparing the house for sale, decluttering and organizing to make it presentable for potential buyers. It was a therapeutic process, as if each item I packed away was a step towards closing this painful chapter of my life. I spent hours sorting through our belongings, deciding what to keep, what to donate, and what to throw away. It felt like a cleansing ritual, purging the remnants of a broken relationship from my life. As I packed away old photos, trinkets, and mementos of our time together, I couldn't help but reflect on the good times we had shared. It was bittersweet but necessary. Each item that went into a box was a step forward, a small victory in my journey to reclaim my life. I donated most of Lisa S.'s clothes to charity, keeping only a few items that held no emotional significance. The furniture that held too many memories was sold or given away. The house, once full of reminders of a life we built together, began to feel like a blank canvas, ready for new memories to be created. During this time, I found myself reflecting on the journey that had brought me here. The initial shock and betrayal had given way to anger and a fierce determination to reclaim my life. Now, as the dust settled, I realized how much I had grown. I had faced my worst fears, confronted lies, and emerged stronger. I learned that even in the darkest times, there's always a way forward, and that every end is a new beginning. The introspection brought about a deeper understanding of myself and my values. I started journaling, pouring my thoughts and feelings onto paper. It became a daily ritual, a way to process my emotions and track my progress. I sought out therapy, finding solace and guidance in talking through my experiences with a professional. Each session brought new insights, helping me to navigate the complex emotions tied to betrayal and loss. I also reconnected with old hobbies and interests that I had neglected during my marriage. I picked up my guitar again, strumming away the pain with each chord. I started running, feeling the stress melt away with every mile. These activities became a crucial part of my healing process, providing a sense of normalcy and joy in a time of chaos. With the house almost ready for the market, I decided to host a small get-together with friends and family to create some positive memories in the space before letting it go. Mike, who had been a steadfast friend throughout this ordeal, helped organize the gathering. It was a night filled with laughter, support, and the warmth of true friendship. Everyone shared stories, not of the pain, but of the strength and resilience that had brought us all closer together. We toasted to new beginnings and shared hopes for the future. The night was a turning point for me, a celebration of my journey and the incredible support system that had helped me through it. We set up a cozy bonfire in the backyard, and the evening was filled with the aroma of barbecued food and the sound of clinking glasses. My friends and family were incredible. Their presence, a reminder that I was not alone in this journey. As we sat around the fire, sharing stories and jokes, I felt a profound sense of gratitude. These were the people who had stood by me through thick and thin, who had offered their shoulders to cry on and their homes as refuge. This gathering wasn't just a farewell to the house. It was a celebration of resilience and the unwavering strength of true friendship. After the party, I felt an urge to spend some time alone at my cabin, a place that had always brought me peace. I invited Emma to join me for the first day, as a way of thanking her for her unwavering support. We spent the day hiking, fishing, and talking about life. Emma's presence was a reminder that not all relationships are tainted by betrayal. Some are built on genuine care and friendship. We hiked through the dense woods, the rustling leaves and chirping birds providing a soothing soundtrack. Emma's company was comforting, her laughter a reminder of the beauty of genuine connections. We fished by the lake, reminiscing about old times and planning for the future. That evening, as we sat by the fireplace, Emma shared her own stories of heartbreak and resilience. It was a bonding experience, one that deepened our friendship and reinforced the importance of having supportive people in my life. The following days at the cabin were spent in solitude. I reconnected with nature, reflected on my journey, and planned for the future. The tranquility of the cabin, the sound of the wind through the trees, and the calm of the lake all contributed to my healing. I spent my days exploring the woods, breathing in the crisp, fresh air, and letting go of the past with each step. Nights were spent under the stars, the vastness of the sky reminding me of the endless possibilities ahead. It was during this time that I decided to sell the house and buy a smaller place closer to the cabin, where I could start afresh. The idea of living closer to nature, in a place that brought me peace, was incredibly appealing. It felt like the right step towards building a new, happier life. As the divorce proceedings neared their conclusion, I felt a mixture of relief and sadness. The process had been grueling, but it was finally coming to an end. Lisa S.'s attempts to disrupt the proceedings with false claims about her belongings had failed, thanks to the meticulous records I had kept. The judge saw through her ploys, and the settlement was finalized swiftly. I attended the final court hearing with a sense of closure. The judge reviewed the evidence and ruled in my favor, granting me the house and a fair division of assets. Lisa S.'s claims of damaged property were dismissed, and she left the courtroom in silence. It was a bittersweet victory. On one hand, I was free from the toxic relationship that had caused so much pain. On the other, it marked the end of a significant chapter in my life. After the hearing, I went home and poured myself a glass of whiskey. I stood in the empty living room, taking in the silence. This house, once filled with laughter and love, had become a symbol of betrayal and heartache. It was time to let it go and start anew. I toasted to new beginnings and made a promise to myself to build a life filled with joy, honesty, and true connections. With the divorce behind me, I focused on finding a new home. I found a cozy cabin-style house near my retreat. It was perfect, small, charming, and surrounded by nature. Moving in was a fresh start, a blank canvas on which to build a new life. I decorated it with items that brought me joy, making it a true reflection of who I had become. The new house was a sanctuary, The smell of pine and the sound of birdsong replaced the noise and stress of my previous life. I filled it with books, art, and furniture that brought me comfort. Each room was a testament to my journey, a blend of the old and the new. The living room had a large window that overlooked the forest, and I often found myself sitting there sipping coffee and watching the seasons change. I also created a dedicated space for my hobbies. One room became a music studio where I spent hours playing guitar and recording songs. Another room was a home office filled with shelves of books and a desk where I continued my journaling. These spaces were a reflection of my passions and a reminder of the importance of nurturing my interests. One afternoon, I received a call from Ryan's fiancée, Sarah. She wanted to thank me for the support and update me on her situation. She had moved on, found a new job in another city, and was starting fresh just like me. We shared our stories and agreed to stay in touch. It was comforting to know that someone else had navigated through the same storm and found their way to calmer waters. Sarah and I became good friends. We would occasionally meet up for coffee or a hike, sharing updates on our new lives. She had found peace in her new city, and her resilience was inspiring. Our conversations often revolved around our past experiences, but they always ended on a positive note. We talked about our future plans and the lessons we had learned from our respective journeys. Sarah's friendship was a reminder that we could rebuild our lives and find happiness after betrayal. As the months passed, I felt a growing sense of closure. I no longer checked my phone obsessively or felt the need to recount the betrayal. Instead, I focused on the present and the future. I took up new hobbies, made new friends, and found joy in the simple things. Life had a way of moving forward, and so did I. I joined a local hiking group, exploring new trails and making new friends. These hikes became a weekly ritual, a time to connect with nature and like-minded people. I also started volunteering at a local animal shelter, finding fulfillment in helping animals in need. The sense of purpose and connection these activities brought was invaluable. I also reconnected with old friends, rebuilding relationships that had been neglected during my marriage. We went on road trips, attended concerts, and shared countless laughs. These friendships, rooted in mutual respect and care, were a source of immense joy. One day, while hiking near my new home, I met someone special. Her name was Emily, and she had a warmth and kindness that drew me in. We started spending time together, and slowly, a new relationship blossomed. It was different from anything I had experienced before, built on trust, respect, and mutual admiration. Emily knew my story and accepted me for who I was, scars and all. Our relationship grew organically, built on a foundation of open communication and shared values. We spent our weekends exploring nature, cooking together, and talking about our dreams and aspirations. Emily's presence in my life was a breath of fresh air, a reminder that love could be genuine and pure. She appreciated my journey and respected the space I needed to heal. Looking back, I realized how far I had come. The betrayal that once shattered me had become a stepping stone to a life I could never have imagined. I had learned to trust again, to find joy in the little things, and to embrace the future with hope. As Emily and I sat on the porch of my cabin watching the sunset, I knew that I had finally found peace. The journey had been long and painful, but it had led me to a place of true happiness and contentment. Emily and I made plans for the future, talking about traveling the world, starting a family, and continuing to support each other's dreams. Our relationship was built on a deep understanding and mutual respect, and I felt truly blessed to have found her. And so, with a heart full of gratitude and a spirit ready for whatever came next, I embraced the new chapter of my life. The past was behind me, and the future was bright. I had reclaimed my life, and it was better than ever. The journey through betrayal had not broken me. It had transformed me, giving me the strength to create a life filled with love, joy, and endless possibilities. As Emily and I continued to build our relationship, I found myself reconnecting with old passions that had long been dormant. Music had always been a significant part of my life, but during the turmoil of my marriage and subsequent divorce, I had neglected it. Emily encouraged me to pick up my guitar again, and soon our evenings were filled with the sounds of strumming and singing. We even started a small tradition of playing music together every Friday night. Emily played the piano, and together we experimented with different genres, creating our own unique sound. These musical sessions became a cornerstone of our relationship, a way to express ourselves and connect on a deeper level. It was through this shared passion that I began to rediscover parts of myself I thought I had lost forever. My relationship with Emily wasn't the only one that flourished. My friendships, which had suffered during my marriage, began to strengthen as well. I made a conscious effort to reach out and reconnect with old friends. We organized camping trips, game nights, and casual get-togethers that brought us all closer. Mike, who had been a pillar of support throughout my ordeal, became my confidant and partner in various adventures. We took up hiking and explored trails we had never ventured onto before. These hikes were therapeutic, offering a space for deep conversations and the occasional laugh over our shared misadventures. Our friendship, built on years of trust and mutual respect, grew even stronger. With my personal life stabilizing, I began to look for ways to give back to the community. I started volunteering at a local shelter, helping those who were going through tough times. This work was incredibly fulfilling and gave me a sense of purpose. It also put my own struggles into perspective, reminding me of the resilience of the human spirit. Emily joined me in these efforts, and together we organized community events and fundraisers. Seeing the impact of our work brought us immense satisfaction. We met many incredible people along the way, whose stories of perseverance and hope inspired us. This shared commitment to helping others became another bond that strengthened our relationship. With a newfound zest for life, Emily and I decided to travel and explore new places. We made a list of destinations we had always dreamed of visiting and began planning our trips. Our first adventure took us to the breathtaking landscapes of the Pacific Northwest. We hiked through lush forests, kayaked in serene lakes, and camped under starlit skies. Traveling together was an eye-opening experience. We learned to navigate challenges, embraced new cultures, and created unforgettable memories. Each trip brought us closer, teaching us the value of patience, flexibility, and the joy of discovering the world together. Our travels became a metaphor for our journey as a couple, full of exploration, growth, and shared experiences. As I looked back on the tumultuous journey that had brought me here, I felt a profound sense of gratitude. The betrayal that once seemed insurmountable had led me to a life filled with love, purpose, and endless possibilities. Emily and I continued to build our future, planning for the years ahead with excitement and hope. We talked about our dreams, buying a piece of land to build our own home, starting a family, and continuing to make a difference in our community. The future, which had once seemed bleak and uncertain, now appeared bright and full of promise. Our love for each other, grounded in trust and mutual respect, was the foundation upon which we built our lives.